In the whispering neighborhood of Oak Ridge Estates, the hum of suburban life flowed like a gentle creek, steady and unassuming, a tapestry of manicured lawns and pastel houses, each one a perfect replica of its neighbor, stretched out under the wide expanse of sky. This was a place where daisies lined the sidewalks and sprinkler systems sang in unison at dusk. It was a place where everything had its place, until Karen moved in. Karen, with her platinum bob and perpetually pursed lips, had a knack for disruption. Her arrival was a spectacle, an ATV rumbling onto her pristine driveway. Shattering the neighborhood's tranquility, she quickly became the self-appointed arbiter of all things HOA, patrolling the suburb in her roaring machine like a monarch overseeing her realm. Her presence was an odd juxtaposition to our quiet corner of the world, a jarring note in an otherwise harmonious symphony. I was content in my corner house, an unobtrusive bastion of calm, flanked by a garden that bloomed in gentle defiance of the controlled uniformity around it. The roses climbed with abandon, their scent a fragrant protest against the sterile symmetry that defined Oak Ridge. I was a caretaker of tranquility. My tools, simple yet profound, a soldering iron, a handful of resistors, a mind that thrived on solving puzzles. Karen's first transgression was subtle, a shadow that crept into my life under the guise of neighborly charm. The ATV's charging cable slithered across the boundary of our properties, its greed unnoticed at first, but the power bills sang a different tale, climbing higher, an unwanted crescendo in my careful budget. I knew it was Karen. The ATV's battery sated by my electricity. Her audacity was almost admirable, a brazen theft cloaked in the mundane. In response, I did not storm across her manicured lawn. I did not raise my voice above a whisper. I preferred subtler methods, quiet but effective, like water wearing down stone. I observed, I planned, in the evenings, as the sun dipped below the horizon. I would retreat to my garage, a sanctuary of circuits and wires. It was there, among the hum of tiny components, that I found solace. I pondered over Karen's transgressions, her flagrant disregard for the unwritten rules of neighborly conduct. I could have confronted her outright, but confrontation was not my way. I believed in the power of patience, of letting things unfold like a well-timed blossom. My garden was proof of this philosophy, each bloom a testament to the virtue of waiting. And so, I waited, letting my ideas take root, grow, and finally bear fruit. The solution, when it came, was elegant in its simplicity, a circuit designed to detect the energy flow from my outlet to her ATV, a silent guardian that would intervene at just the right moment. It was not revenge I sought, but balance, a restoration of the natural order that Karen had upended. This circuit would be my voice, calm and firm, a gentle nudge to remind her that every action has its consequence. As the days turned into weeks, I watched Karen, her confidence unshaken. Her ATV continued its daily rounds. Oblivious to the subtle shifts in the electrical currents that fueled its journeys, she remained blissfully unaware of the change that brewed beneath the surface. Like a storm gathering on a distant horizon. Patience, I reminded myself. The time would come when her empire of noise and bravado would falter. Until then, I would nurture my garden, tend to my circuits, and relish the quiet satisfaction of a plan well laid. The stage was set, the players unwittingly in place. I inhaled deeply, the scent of roses mingling with the faint whiff of solder, and quietly awaited the symphony's next movement. The air hung thick with the scent of freshly cut grass and tension as Karen's reign of absurdity began to take form. Her ATV sat smugly in her driveway, symbolizing both her audacity and my quiet determination. The neighborhood had grown accustomed to its presence, much like an uninvited guest that overstays its welcome. But the ATV was just the beginning, a prelude to a symphony of pettiness. From my window, I watched as Karen made her rounds, clipboard in hand, a self-appointed sheriff patrolling her domain. Her eyes were sharp, like a hawk scanning for a hapless rodent. Each step she took seemed calculated, a deliberate march toward making each of us feel smaller under her gaze. An email arrived, heralding the first of her new decrees. The subject line was an ominous warning: HOA policy updates, immediate action required. I read on, incredulous. Grass no longer than 2 inches. Trash bins to be brought in by 6:01 a.m. precisely. A ban on outdoor decorations not conforming to a specific beige palette. It was as if Karen had found a rule book for misery and decided to enforce it with zeal. The community buzzed with whispers. In the corners of the street, conversations hushed as she approached. The once vibrant neighborhood felt subdued, the life drained by currying favor or avoiding her ire. I could see it in their eyes, the fear of unexpected fines, the anxiety of being the next target. Karen had turned our peaceful enclave into a theater of the absurd. Each citation, a new act in her twisted play. One morning, I found a note taped to my door. Violation unauthorized garden gnome. The words were scrawled in a neat, officious script. I glanced at the small ceramic figure nestled among the daisies, its hat askew as if caught in surprise, a harmless guardian of the flora, now deemed a criminal by Karen's decree. I couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. A tiny rebel in a pastel prison. However, beneath my amusement stirred a simmering resolve. These citations were Karen's attempts to tighten her grip, but every heavy-handed rule only fueled my quiet rebellion. It was time to finish what I had started with the circuit. The plan was meticulous, born of countless hours of research and quiet contemplation. It was as much a technical challenge as it was an art, a masterpiece of retribution. In the cover of night, I worked, tools in hand. I set about creating something that would speak louder than words. Wires became veins, circuits a nervous system, each connection a calculated decision, piece by piece. The plan manifested before me, a testament to patience and ingenuity. There was satisfaction in the precision of it all. The circuit was simple yet brilliant, designed to detect and disrupt the flow of power. It was not destruction, but transformation, a shift in energy and dominance. Karen's ATV, once a symbol of her entitlement, would be its own undoing. I imagined her reaction as the machine sputtered to a halt, freed from its parasitic hold on my electricity. It was poetic justice, less a bang, more a whimper. As I finished, dawn's light crept through my window. The neighborhood lay still, unaware of the justice poised to unfold. I felt a calmness settle over me, the kind that accompanies the knowledge of an inevitable truth. Karen had her reign, but she had underestimated the quiet power of resilience. In that moment, I understood sometimes. The most profound victories come not from confrontation, but from letting nature, electrical or otherwise, run its course. Sunlight filtered through the clouds, casting an ethereal glow over the quiet suburb. I watched the subtle dance of shadows and light from my window, my mind a whirl of contemplation and resolve. Karen's antics had become a melody of frustration, her ATV a crescendo of noise and hubris that broke the neighborhood's peace. She'd been siphoning electricity like a thief in the night, an invisible hand that reached into my home with entitled audacity. The tally of her misdeeds grew like weeds in an untended garden, each instance a reminder of her disregard. Each morning, I walked past the utility box, noting the tangled mess of wires sprawled there like a careless spider's web. My own circuit was a river of calm precision beside her chaos. It was time to create a dam, to redirect the flow she so eagerly disrupted. Documentation had become a ritual, each entry a verse in a personal hymn of justice. Photos, timestamps, recorded power surges, they lay neatly in a folder by my desk, a testament to her disregard and my patience. I imagined the papers as soldiers, lined in formation, ready for the quiet battle ahead. My plan was simple in its elegance. A quiet masterpiece of engineering, a circuit that danced just beneath the visible, a silent guardian ready to strike. It was a song written in the language of electrons, a testament to the beauty of precision. The device was small, unassuming, but with the determination of a storm concealed within. As I installed it, my fingers moved with the grace of a sculptor, each twist and connection precise. I imagined Karen, oblivious to her impending fall from grace. Her ATV, once a symbol of her dominance, would soon be a monument to her folly. Days passed, the stillness before a storm. On a crisp morning, I watched from my window as Karen approached her ATV. Her swagger was unmistakable, the air around her vibrating with self-assured arrogance. She reached for the starter with the confidence of a queen. The engine growled, then faltered, coughing like a beast with a stone lodged in its throat. Silence. The music of karma played in the quiet. She tried again, disbelief painting her face in broad strokes. The machine shuddered, groaned, then lay still. She stared at it, confusion twisting her features, the realization dawning slowly. Her reign of noise had ended, her power stripped away by the very source she'd exploited. A single line of dialogue slipped through my lips, barely a whisper, a private offering to the universe. Checkmate. The neighborhood seemed to breathe a collective sigh, the air vibrant with the freedom of reclaimed peace. I watched her storm back inside, her frustration palpable even from a distance. Her fortress had crumbled without the need for confrontation, her kingdom silent as she retreated. Contentment settled within me, a quiet flame of victory. I had not only reclaimed my power, I had restored the harmony she had so carelessly disrupted. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue over the street, the shadows long and tranquil at last. I turned back to my desk, placing the final piece of evidence into the folder. It was complete now, a narrative of resistance and quiet triumph. Outside, the world continued in its gentle rhythm, undisturbed by the absence of Karen's roar. My heart echoed the serenity of that moment, a refrain of justice achieved. The quiet clink of the circuit-breaking tool in my hand was oddly satisfying. It marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where patience and precision would be my greatest allies. The tangled maze of wires in the junction box was a testament to Karen's audacious thefts, a crude tapestry of copper veins siphoning energy. Her house, set like a fortress at the edge of our cul-de-sac, gleamed with the artificial glow of stolen power. I had watched for weeks as her ATV roared to life each morning, fueled not by her own means but by the lifeblood of my household, a modern-day piracy, masked by a veneer of suburban respectability. The legal route had been a slow, deliberate dance. A quiet conversation with the utility company had led to the installation of a discrete energy monitor. It recorded each unauthorized surge with unerring precision, a silent witness to her transgressions. Karen thrived on drama. Her life, a constant theater of complaints and demands. I was determined to operate beneath her radar, an invisible hand, reclaiming control. The piles of documentation grew steadily, a paper trail leading from my fuse box to hers. I found a strange satisfaction in the meticulous detail, each page a brick in the case I was building. The irony of her situation was not lost on me. Karen, so obsessed with order and control, would soon find herself ensnared by the very rules she wielded like weapons. The HOA meeting was the perfect stage for the culmination of my efforts, a place where her voice usually dominated, drowning out dissent with sheer volume. I arrived early, taking a seat at the back where I could observe unnoticed. The room filled with the usual cast of characters, neighbors seeking resolution to petty grievances. Eager to avoid the wrath of Karen's imperious gaze, I waited, the folder in my lap a quiet promise. When she finally entered, it was with her customary bravado, flanked by a couple of loyal followers who clung to her coattails like shadows. The meeting unfolded predictably, Karen's voice rising and falling like the tide, carrying the conversation in the direction she desired. I watched and listened, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal my hand. When the agenda turned to energy conservation, I seized the opportunity, feeling the weight of the room's anticipation settle on my shoulders. My voice, calm and measured, cut through the chatter like a blade. "There's an issue I'd like to address." Silence fell, a palpable shift in the room's dynamics. Karen's eyes narrowed. Sensing a challenge, with deliberate care, I laid out the evidence, each page a testament to her unauthorized consumption. The room seemed to hold its breath, the quiet punctuated only by the soft rustle of paper. Karen's facade wavered, a fleeting crack in her armor. It was a moment of exquisite irony, watching her grapple with the realization that her fortress of control was crumbling. The HOA, bound by its own rules, had no choice but to act. Power, once so easily stolen, now slipped through her fingers like sand. I stood, gathering my documents, the weight of vindication settling comfortably on my shoulders. Karen's protests echoed behind me, a dwindling cacophony of outrage and disbelief. As I walked away, the air was crisp with the scent of resolution. The circuit I had built had not only cut off her lifeline, but had reconnected me to a sense of justice, long overdue. Outside, the evening sun cast long shadows, the world a tapestry of light and dark. It felt good to stand in the light again, knowing the shadows no longer held sway. As the morning fog lifted, the day revealed its intentions with a sun that seemed almost conspiratorial in its brightness. The tendrils of mist gave way to clarity, both in the air and within the community. I stood at my window, watching the neighborhood stir to life, each home like a slumbering beast, slowly awakening. The stage was set. Yesterday, I had put the final touches on the circuit, a simple device, really hidden in plain sight. It was a quiet sentinel waiting for the moment to come alive. I knew Karen would be eager to fire up her ATV, the symbol of her rule-breaking reign. Her unchecked audacity had been a thorn, a burr clinging stubbornly to our collective peace. This morning, the neighborhood seemed to hold its breath. An air of anticipation hung over the cul-de-sac. The sound of birds, a symphony of obliviousness, was the only music. I watched as Karen emerged from her house. She was dressed in her usual armor of entitlement, oversized sunglasses, and a sneer that could cut glass. Her gaze swept the street, a self-proclaimed queen surveying her kingdom. The circuit was armed and ready. A silent guardian nestled among the mundane. She strode over to her ATV, blissfully unaware of the engineering marvel that lay in wait. The machine was an extension of her defiance, its roar previously a declaration of her disregard for the rules we all lived by. Today, it would be different. I leaned back in my chair, my fingers tapping a silent rhythm on the windowsill, the calm before the storm, or perhaps the calm that followed in its wake. Either way, serenity was within reach. Karen turned the key. The ATV sputtered, a mechanical gasp that signaled its betrayal. The circuit had done its job. The beast was muzzled. I could almost taste the irony on the breeze. Her confusion was palpable, a visible ripple in the orderly fabric of the morning. She kicked the tires in frustration, her face a kaleidoscope of disbelief and fury. The neighborhood watched, unseen eyes peering through curtains and around corners. Every household, a silent jury. In that moment, Karen was no longer the antagonist. She was merely a person confronting the boundaries of her own actions. There was a strange satisfaction in watching her grapple with a world that had suddenly slipped out of her control. I felt no malice. Only the quiet victory of justice served. The sun climbed higher, A relentless march towards noon. The neighborhood exhaled, the tension dissolving into the warm embrace of routine. Life resumed its ordinary course. The equilibrium restored. Karen, for her part, had retreated indoors, her reign interrupted, if not entirely dethroned. I turned away from the window, the morning's events playing out in my mind like a well-rehearsed scene finally delivered. The circuit, now inert and unassuming, had been my voice calm, calculated, and binding in its judgment. In the end, it wasn't about the power she had taken, but the power she had relinquished. The day unfolded with a newfound peace, its rhythm undisturbed by the echo of an engine that remained silent, and in that silence, we found a measure of harmony we hadn't realized was missing.